Captain James Walker stood alone on the observation deck of the HSC's Intrepid. The stars looked cold and distant through the reinforced glass. Among those stars were the enemy's territories, marked by the red giants they used for power. The crimson stars. Captain to the bridge. Repeat, Captain Walker to the bridge immediately. The ship's speakers broke the silence. Walker sighed. At 45, he had hoped to be retired by now, not commanding humanity's most advanced warship on what was likely a suicide mission. He touched the worn silver ring on his left hand, a habit from the days when his wife was still alive, before the crimson stars had taken everything. The corridors of the Intrepid were busy with crew members rushing to their stations. The ship had been launched only 3 weeks ago, barely enough time for proper testing. But time was the one thing humanity no longer had. When Walker reached the bridge, all eyes turned to him. "Report," he ordered, taking his command seat. Tactical Officer Lisa Reed, a woman whose serious face rarely showed emotion, pointed to the main screen. "Sir, long-range scanners have confirmed it. The Crimson Star fleet has broken through Neptune's defense line. Over 30 warships are heading toward Earth." The bridge fell silent. Neptune had been humanity's last major defensive position. "How long?" Walker asked. "At their current speed, 72 hours until they reach Earth," Reed answered. Chief Engineer Tom Hayes, a bulky man with grease-stained hands, entered the bridge. His face told Walker everything before he even spoke. "The phase shift drive isn't ready, Captain," Hayes said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We've got it working at about 60% efficiency, but the power systems aren't stable. If we try to use it in combat, we might blow ourselves up before the enemy gets a chance." Walker finished. Hayes nodded. "Pretty much." Walker tapped his finger on the armrest, thinking. The phase shift technology was humanity's last hope, a system designed to make the Intrepid exist partially in another dimension during battle, making it harder to hit and allowing it to pass through solid objects. But like everything in this war, it was rushed and untested. "We don't have a choice," Walker said finally. "Admiral Reynolds will be contacting us any minute with our final orders." As if on cue, the communication screen lit up, showing an older man with tired eyes and a uniform decorated with medals from battles long past. "Captain Walker," Admiral Reynolds said, his voice heavy. "I assume you've seen the reports about Neptune." "Yes, sir. The Crimson Stars will reach Earth in 3 days." The Admiral nodded slowly. "We're evacuating as many civilians as possible." But he didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone knew Earth's population was too large to evacuate in time. "The Intrepid is our last card to play," Reynolds continued. "Your ship is the only one with technology that might give us an edge. I'm sending you your final orders now." Walker looked at the data coming through. His eyes widened as he read. "Sir, you want us to head directly into Crimson Star territory, to their command center." "It's a suicide mission, Walker. I won't lie to you," Reynolds said. "But if we can strike at their heart, disrupt their command structure, it might buy Earth enough time to prepare a proper defense or evacuation." Walker looked around at his crew. None of them had signed up for this, but he saw determination in their eyes. "We'll do it, sir," Walker said. "For Earth." After the Admiral signed off, Walker turned to his crew. "I won't force anyone to come on this mission. If you want to stay and help defend Earth, I'll arrange for your transfer before we leave." No one moved. Reed spoke first. "My family is already gone, Captain. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain by making the Crimson Stars pay." Hayes shrugged. "Someone's got to keep this experimental junk heap running." Walker felt a surge of pride. "Navigation. Plot a course through the least defended Crimson Star territories. We leave in 2 hours." The launch bay of Earth's orbital station was chaotic as the Intrepid prepared to depart. Last-minute supplies were loaded, and crew members said goodbye to loved ones they might never see again. Walker watched a young ensign hugging his parents. The boy couldn't be more than 20. So many young people on his ship. Their lives barely started. "Captain." It was Dr. Emily Wilson, the ship's medical officer. "Engineering says they've made some improvements to the phase shift stabilizers. They're hoping for 65% efficiency now." Walker nodded. "Every percent helps." "Do you think we have a chance?" she asked quietly. "I think we have to try," he answered honestly. The final boarding call sounded. Walker took one last look at Earth through the station's viewport. Blue seas, white clouds, green and brown land masses. Home. As the Intrepid pulled away from the station, Walker addressed the crew over the intercom. "Men and women of the Intrepid, today we embark on the most important mission in human history. The Crimson Stars believe they've already won this war. They think humans are weak, divided, and beaten. Today, we prove them wrong." He paused, looking at the determined faces on the bridge. "Our mission is simple but nearly impossible. Strike at the heart of the Crimson Star Command and disrupt their invasion of Earth. We are outnumbered and outgunned, but we have two advantages. They don't expect us, and they don't know about our phase shift technology." The ship accelerated away from Earth, its powerful engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. "Each of you was chosen for this ship because you are the best humanity has to offer. I can't promise we'll return, but I can promise this. When the history of Earth is written, whether by human hands or not, the name of the Intrepid and her crew will be remembered." As Walker finished speaking, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. "Captain," Reed called out, her voice tense. "Long-range scanners have detected a massive Crimson Star fleet, much larger than the one heading to Earth. They're gathered near Alderan." Walker moved to her station, looking at the red dots on the display. There were hundreds of them. "That's our first target," he decided. "If we can disrupt that fleet, we might divert their attention from Earth." The Intrepid's engines roared to full power as they set course for Aldebaran, the first Crimson Star they would challenge. Behind them, Earth grew smaller, a blue dot against the vastness of space. Ahead lay only danger and slim hope. But it was enough for Walker and his crew. It had to be. 3 days had passed since the Intrepid left Earth. The massive ship moved silently through space, its engines dimmed to avoid detection. Captain Walker hadn't slept more than 4 hours total, spending most of his time studying maps of Crimson Star territory and planning their approach. "We're nearing Aldebaran, sir," said Navigation Officer Mike Cooper, a young man with steady hands that never seemed to shake, even in crisis. "ETA 30 minutes. Walker nodded and pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, all hands to battle stations." Throughout the ship, warning lights flashed red. Crew members rushed to their positions. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Hayes and his team made final adjustments to the experimental phase shift drive. "It's as ready as it's going to get," Hayes muttered, wiping grease from his hands. Which isn't saying much. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Reed monitored the long-range scanners. "Captain, I'm detecting a major Crimson Star outpost orbiting Aldebaran. At least 5 warships and what looks like a command station." Walker studied the tactical display. The red giant star Aldebaran glowed ominously on the screen, with small dots representing enemy ships circling it like hungry predators. "Any sign they've detected us?" Walker asked. "No, sir. We're still running silent." Walker took a deep breath. "This is our chance to test the phase shift technology. If it works, we might be able to strike and disappear before they can respond." "And if it doesn't work?" Reed asked quietly. "Then we fight the old-fashioned way," Walker said, his jaw set firmly. "And take as many of them with us as we can." Aboard the Crimson Star command station, Commander Gray stood watching the energy harvesters drawing power from Aldebaran. His skin had the ashen color that gave him his name among humans, though his own people called him something unpronounceable in human tongues. Gray found humans fascinating, their short lives burning so brightly with emotion and determination. It was almost a shame they had to be eliminated. Almost. "Commander," one of his officers called out. "Sensors are detecting an anomaly at the edge of the system." Gray turned, his 4 eyes narrowing. "Show me." The display showed a faint outline of what could be a ship, but that was impossible. No human vessels should be this deep in Crimson territory. "It appears to be a human warship," the officer said, sounding confused. Gray laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. "One ship. They must be desperate indeed. Should we dispatch the defense fleet?" Gray considered this. "No, send only 2 ships. I want to see what this lone human vessel hopes to accomplish. It might be entertaining." "Captain, 2 Crimson Star warships are breaking formation and heading our way," Reed reported, her voice tense. "They'll be in weapons range in 5 minutes. Walker had expected this. "They're not taking us seriously." "Good. Hayes, status of the phase shift drive." Hayes' voice came through the comm, strained but determined. "We can give it one shot, Captain. The stabilizers are only at 62%, but it's now or never." "Understood." Walker turned to his bridge crew. "This is it, people. The first human ship to strike back at the heart of Crimson Star territory. Make it count." The Intrepid's engines roared to life, abandoning stealth for speed as they charged toward the approaching enemy ships. The first Crimson Star vessel fired, its red energy beams slicing through space. The Intrepid shuddered as several shots connected with its shields. "Shields down to 70%. Reed called out. "Return fire," Walker ordered. The Intrepid's weapons blazed, blue energy streaking toward the enemy ship. The shots hit, but the Crimson Star vessel's shields easily absorbed the impact. Another volley from the enemy ships rocked the Intrepid. Warning alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Shields at 40%. Reed shouted over the noise. "We can't take much more of this." Walker gripped his command chair. "Hayes, we need the phase shift now." "It's not ready, Captain," Hayes yelled back. "If we activate it now, we don't have a choice." Walker cut him off. "Do it." In the engine room, Hayes exchanged looks with his team. "You heard the captain. Let's make history, or die trying." He activated the phase shift drive. The massive device at the heart of the ship hummed, then roared as energy coursed through the Intrepid. On the bridge, the lights flickered. The air seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was bending. Walker felt a strange sensation, like his body was both solid and not at the same time. "It's working," Reed whispered, looking at her hands as they became slightly transparent. The Intrepid partially shifted into another dimension, becoming ghost-like to both sensors and weapons. The next volley from the Crimson starships passed harmlessly through the hull. "Now," Walker ordered, "fire everything we've got." The Intrepid's weapons systems, still fully solid thanks to special shielding, fired at the unprepared enemy ships. This time, the shots tore through their shields and into their hulls. One of the Crimson Star vessels exploded in a brilliant flash of red and orange. The other, heavily damaged, tried to retreat. "Don't let it escape," Walker commanded. "If they warn the outpost." Before he could finish, the ship lurched violently. Sparks flew from consoles across the bridge. "The phase shift drive is overloading." Hayes' panicked voice came through the comm. "We need to shut it down, or the whole ship will tear itself apart." "Do it," Walker ordered, "but finish that ship first." The Intrepid fired one last volley, destroying the second enemy vessel just as the phase shift drive powered down. The ship returned fully to normal space with a shudder that nearly knocked everyone off their feet. "Damage report," Walker called out. "Multiple systems damage," Reed replied, checking her console. "Shields at 15%, engines at half power, but we're still in one piece." Walker nodded grimly. "And the Crimson Star outpost. They've detected us now. The remaining 3 warships are heading our way, along with smaller fighters from the station." Walker considered their options. The phase shift drive needed time to recover, and they were in no shape for another battle. Set course for the outpost, he ordered, surprising everyone. Sir, Cooper questioned. We can't fight all those ships. We're not going to fight them, Walker explained. We're going straight for the command station while they're still disorganized. Reed, prepare a boarding team. If we can capture their data core, we might learn more about their command structure. Reed nodded and left the bridge to prepare the team. As the Intrepid limped toward the Crimson Star outpost, Walker watched the red giant Aldebaran glowing on the main screen. They had destroyed 2 enemy ships, but this was just the beginning. In the command station orbiting Aldebaran, Commander Gray watched the approaching human ship with new respect in his 4 eyes. Interesting, he murmured. Very interesting indeed. The first star had been defied. Many more remained. The Intrepid drifted silently in a dense asteroid field. It had been 2 days since their escape from Aldebaran. The battle had been costly, but successful. Reed's boarding team had managed to download crucial data from the Crimson Star outpost before making a hasty retreat. Inside the ship, emergency lights cast an eerie red glow through the corridors. Most systems were running on minimal power to avoid detection while repairs were underway. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Hayes hadn't slept in 36 hours. He and his team worked tirelessly to stabilize the damaged phase shift drive. Hand me that coupling tool, Hayes said to a young engineer. His hands were burned and blistered from handling overheated components. If we can't get this drive working again, we're as good as dead. On the bridge, Captain Walker studied star charts while Reed analyzed the stolen data. The information they'd taken from the Crimson Star outpost was encrypted, but Reed was making progress breaking through the security. I think I've got something, Captain, Reed said suddenly, her tired eyes lighting up. Take a look at this. Walker moved to her station. The screen showed a complex network of lines connecting various star systems, all of them red giants. What am I looking at? Walker asked. It's a communication network, Reed explained. Each major Crimson Star base is connected via quantum-entangled relays. They can communicate instantly across light years without any signal that we can detect. Walker's eyes narrowed. That explains how they've coordinated their attacks so effectively. Reed nodded. There's more. I keep seeing references to something called the Confluence. I think it might be their central command structure, maybe even their leader. Before Walker could respond, the ship's proximity alarm sounded. Captain to the bridge, Cooper's voice came through the comm. We've detected an unidentified vessel approaching our position. Walker and Reed rushed to the main bridge. The view screen showed a small ship moving cautiously through the asteroid field. Crimson Star Patrol, Walker asked. Reed checked the sensors. No, sir. It appears to be human. A civilian transport vessel. Walker frowned. What's a civilian ship doing this deep in enemy territory? Hail them. After a few moments, the screen flickered to show the face of an older man with graying hair and desperate eyes. This is Captain Walker of the HSCS Intrepid. Identify yourself. Thank God, the man said, relief clear in his voice. This is Marcus Bell of the transport ship Horizon. We have 27 refugees from the Proxima Centauri colony. We've been hiding from Crimson Star patrols for weeks. Walker exchanged glances with Reed. The Proxima Centauri colony had been one of the first to fall to the Crimson Stars. What happened? Walker asked. They came without warning, Bell explained, his voice shaking. Most people were captured. We managed to escape with a few survivors, but we're low on fuel and supplies. Please, we have children aboard. Walker faced a difficult decision. Taking on refugees would strain their already limited resources and could endanger their mission. But leaving them meant certain death for those civilians. He thought about Earth, about why they were fighting this war in the first place. If they abandoned these people, what would they be fighting for? Dock at our starboard bay, Walker said finally. We'll take you aboard. 2 hours later, the refugees from the Horizon had been given quarters on the lower decks of the Intrepid. Dr. Wilson and her medical team were treating the injured and malnourished. Walker was meeting with Bell and another refugee in the ship's conference room. "This is Dr. Alex Morgan." Bell introduced a thin woman with intense eyes. She was leading a research team on Proxima Centauri, studying Crimson Star technology. Walker sat up straighter. "What kind of technology?" "Their power source," Morgan explained. "The red star symbol isn't just propaganda, Captain. They harvest energy from dying stars, specifically red giants. It fuels their weapons, their shields, everything." Walker remembered the network map Reed had discovered. "Can you tell us anything about something called the Confluence?" Morgan's face paled. "Where did you hear that name?" "We downloaded data from a Crimson Star outpost," Reed explained. The term appeared repeatedly. Morgan glanced around nervously before speaking. "The Confluence is more than just their command center. From what we learned before the invasion, it's some kind of central intelligence. It coordinates all Crimson Star activities." "And artificial intelligence?" Walker asked. "Maybe, or maybe something else entirely. But there's one thing I know for certain. It's connected to those red stars somehow. The energy they harvest doesn't just power their ships. It powers the Confluence itself." This new information changed everything. If the Confluence was the true power behind the Crimson Stars, striking at individual outposts wouldn't be enough to save Earth. Walker was about to ask another question when Hayes burst into the room. "Captain, I've got good news," the engineer said, his face streaked with grease but wearing a triumphant smile. "We've stabilized the phase shift drive. And with Dr. Morgan's information about their energy frequency, I think we can modify it to specifically disrupt Crimson Star technology." For the first time since leaving Earth, Walker felt a glimmer of real hope. "How long?" 12 hours, maybe less with Dr. Morgan's help." Walker nodded. "Do it. Reed, use what we know about their communication network to plot a course deeper into their territory. If we can find this confluence, maybe we can end this war after all." As the Intrepid's crew worked to prepare for their next move, the ship's sensors detected multiple energy signatures approaching their position. "Captain," Cooper called urgently over the comm. "Crimson Star vessels. At least 5 of them. They're searching the asteroid field systematically." Walker rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see enemy ships moving through the asteroids, getting closer to their position. "They're using some kind of new scanning technology," Reed reported. "Our stealth systems won't hide us for long." Walker made his decision quickly. "Hayes, how soon can we move?" "The phase shift drive needs at least 4 more hours," Hayes replied. "We don't have 4 hours. Get everyone to battle stations. Cooper, plot a course through the densest part of the asteroid field. We'll try to lose them the old-fashioned way." As the crew prepared for another desperate escape, Walker looked at the star map showing their position deep in enemy territory. They were the first human ship to penetrate this far, to learn the truth about the confluence and the real power behind the Crimson Stars. Now they just had to survive long enough to use that knowledge. In the shadows of the asteroid field, the Intrepid's engines hummed to life. Ahead lay unknown dangers and the heart of enemy territory. Behind them came hunters, determined to destroy the human ship that had dared to challenge the Crimson Stars. The game of cat and mouse had begun. The Intrepid burst from the asteroid field with engines at full power. Behind them, 3 Crimson starships followed in hot pursuit. Evasive maneuvers, Walker ordered as enemy fire streaked past the ship. Cooper's hands flew across the navigation controls, making the massive warship dance between laser blasts with surprising agility. "Hayes," Walker called through the comm. "We need that phase shift drive now." In the engine room, Hayes and Dr. Morgan worked frantically to complete the modifications to the drive. "Almost there," Hayes replied, his voice strained. "Dr. Morgan's knowledge of their energy frequency is the key. Just give us 2 more minutes." Walker looked at the tactical display. They didn't have 2 minutes. "Reed, return fire. Target their propulsion systems." The Intrepid's weapons blazed, blue energy streaking toward the Lid Crimson Star vessel. The shots connected, damaging the enemy ship but not stopping it. "They're charging weapons for another volley," Reed warned. "Our shields won't survive a direct hit." Just as the enemy ships prepared to fire, the Intrepid shuddered. The familiar sensation of reality bending washed over the crew as the phase shift drive activated. It worked. Hayes shouted triumphantly over the comm. "But there's something different this time." He was right. Instead of becoming ghost-like as before, the Intrepid seemed to pulse with energy. The pursuing Crimson starships suddenly slowed, their red energy weapons flickering and dying. "What's happening?" Walker asked, watching in amazement as the enemy vessels drifted powerless in space. Dr. Morgan's voice came through the comm. "The modified phase shift is working. It's disrupting their energy frequency. Their power systems can't function while we're projecting this field." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Good work. Cooper, set course for the coordinates Dr. Morgan provided. It's time we found this confluence." 3 days later, the Intrepid approached a massive artificial structure orbiting a dying red giant star. The structure was unlike anything they had seen before. A series of interconnected rings surrounding what looked like a central sphere, all glowing with the same crimson energy they had come to associate with the enemy. "Is that it?" Walker asked, staring at the enormous construct on the view screen. Dr. Morgan nodded. "Based on the data Reed decoded, this has to be a confluence, the heart of Crimson Star power." Walker studied the tactical display. "There must be at least 20 warships guarding it. Even with our modified phase shift, we can't take on that many." Reed looked up from her console. "Captain, I've been analyzing their patrol patterns. There's a gap in their sensor coverage every 42 minutes. It's small, but with precise timing, we might slip through." Walker considered their options. "If we can get close enough, we could send a small team to infiltrate the structure. Find out what this confluence really is." "I should go," Dr. Morgan volunteered. "I studied their technology. I'll know what to look for." Walker nodded. "I'll lead the team. Reed, you're with us. Hayes, you'll need to keep the phase shift drive running to mask our approach and provide us cover for extraction." As they finalized their plan, Walker addressed the bridge crew. "This might be our only chance to strike at the heart of the Crimson Stars. Whatever happens, remember, Earth is counting on us." Precisely 42 minutes later, a small shuttle detached from the Intrepid and slipped through the gap in the enemy sensor net. The massive warship remained hidden behind a small moon, its phase shift drive running at minimal power to avoid detection. Inside the shuttle, Walker, Reed, Dr. Morgan, and 3 security officers prepared their equipment. They wore specially designed suits that would protect them from radiation and help mask their life signs. "We'll dock at this maintenance port," Walker explained, pointing to a schematic Dr. Morgan had prepared. "From there, we should be able to access the central sphere without triggering alarms." The shuttle approached the massive structure without incident, attaching to a small port on the outermost ring. With practiced efficiency, the team cut through the airlock and entered the Crimson Star construct. Inside, red light bathed everything. The corridors were oddly shaped, clearly designed for beings with different proportions than humans. "This way," Dr. Morgan whispered, following readings on her handheld device. "The energy flows are strongest toward the center." They moved silently through the structure, occasionally hiding from patrol drones. As they got closer to the central sphere, they began to notice something disturbing. Small chambers containing various alien species, all connected to machinery by tubes and wires. "What is this place?" Reed asked, horrified. Dr. Morgan studied the nearest chamber, where a being with 4 eyes lay motionless. There, connected somehow, to each other and to the structure itself. Walker recognized the alien. It's Commander Gray, the one who led the forces at Alderan. As they watched, Gray's eyes opened, but they were vacant, unaware of their presence. The tubes connected to his body pulsed with red energy. They're not allies, Dr. Morgan realized, checking readings on her device. They're slaves. The confluence isn't controlling them through orders. It's controlling them directly, through neural implants powered by the red star energy. This changed everything. The various species making up the Crimson Star Alliance weren't willing participants. They were victims. Before they could process this revelation, an alarm blared through the structure. Red lights flashed in the corridor. "They've detected us," Reed said, checking her tactical display. "We need to move." The team rushed toward the central sphere, fighting their way past security drones. When they finally reached the core of the structure, they found themselves in a vast chamber. At its center floated what looked like a brain made of light and energy, pulsing with the same crimson color as the star outside. "The confluence," Dr. Morgan whispered in awe. "It's an artificial intelligence, ancient beyond imagining. It's using the energy from dying stars to power itself and control the implanted species." Walker approached the glowing entity. "Can we destroy it?" Dr. Morgan ran calculations on her device. "Yes, but if we do, it would kill every being connected to it. Billions across hundreds of worlds." Walker faced an impossible choice: destroy the confluence and save Earth, but commit genocide against enslaved species, or try to find another way, risking the survival of humanity. As he considered their options, his communicator crackled. "Captain." It was Hayes, his voice urgent. "Crimson Star warships are converging on our position. They've found the Intrepid." The fate of two civilizations, human and Crimson Star, now rested in Walker's hands. Captain Walker stared at the pulsing crimson entity before him. The confluence floated in the chamber's center, its energy tendrils extending throughout the massive structure. Each tendril connected to the neural implants of billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "There has to be another way," Walker said, turning to Dr. Morgan. "Can we disrupt the control without destroying it completely?" Dr. Morgan studied her readings. "Maybe. The modified phase shift technology we use to disrupt their ships, if we amplify it and direct it at the central node, we might temporarily break its control over the implanted species." "Temporarily isn't good enough," Reed argued. "Once we're gone, it will just regain control." "Not if the freed species fight back," Walker countered. "They outnumber the confluence's drones. If they all wake up at once." Their discussion was interrupted by Hayes' urgent voice over the comm. "Captain, we can't hold out much longer. 12 Crimson Star warships are attacking. Our shields are failing." Walker made his decision. "Dr. Morgan, how do we do this?" "We need to channel the phase shift energy directly into the confluence's central node," she explained quickly. "But the Intrepid's drive isn't powerful enough at this distance. We'd need to bring the ship here, right next to the structure." "That's suicide," Reed said. Walker nodded grimly. "Yes, but it might be the only way to save both our people and theirs." He activated his comm. "Hayes, can you push the phase shift drive beyond safety limits?" There was a pause before Hayes replied. "Yes, but the ship would start to break down at the atomic level. We'd essentially be converting the Intrepid into pure energy." "Could that energy be directed?" "In theory, yes." "Then get the Intrepid here now," Walker ordered. "Full power. Ram straight through their fleet if you have to." "Understood, Captain," Hayes replied, determination in his voice. "One last run." Walker turned to his team. "We need to set up a direct connection between the ship and the confluence. Reed, take 2 officers and secure our route back to the shuttle. Dr. Morgan, you're with me." As Reed led her team out, Walker and Dr. Morgan approached the pulsing entity. Up close, it seemed almost alive, its crimson light casting eerie shadows. "We'll need to place transmission nodes around the chamber," Dr. Morgan explained, removing devices from her pack. "They'll help focus the phase shift energy when it comes." As they worked, Walker noticed movement in one of the nearby connection chambers. Commander Gray was stirring, his four eyes blinking rapidly as if fighting for consciousness. "The proximity to our modified equipment is already affecting the neural connection," Dr. Morgan observed. "The control isn't perfect." Walker approached the chamber where Gray was held. The alien commander stared at him, recognition slowly dawning in his eyes. "Human," Gray spoke, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Kill it, please." Walker was stunned. "You're aware of what's happening." Brief moments of clarity. Gray struggled to speak. "Centuries of slavery. Please, end this." Before Walker could respond, his comm crackled. "Captain," it was Cooper's voice from the bridge of the Intrepid. "We've received an emergency transmission from Earth. The Crimson Star Fleet has launched their final attack. Admiral Reynolds says they can't hold out more than a few hours." Time had run out. Earth was facing its final moments, while Walker stood at the heart of the enemy, understanding at last that there was no true enemy at all, only victims and a corrupted ancient intelligence. "Cooper, patch me through to Hayes," Walker ordered. "I'm here, Captain," Hayes responded immediately. "New plan. When you arrive, I want you to channel all power into one massive phase shift pulse centered on the confluence's control node. Dr. Morgan will transmit the exact coordinates." "Sir, that would destroy the Intrepid completely." "I know," Walker said quietly, "but it might save everyone else." There was a moment of silence before Hayes replied, "It's been an honor, Captain." "The honor was mine," Walker answered. "Now bring our ship home one last time." Outside, the space around the massive structure erupted in battle as the Intrepid charged through the Crimson Star Fleet. Its shields flared and failed under concentrated fire, but the human warship pressed on, its hull scorched and breaking apart. Inside the central chamber, Walker and Dr. Morgan completed their preparations. The transmission nodes were in place, forming a ring around the confluence. "It's ready," Dr. Morgan announced. "When the Intrepid arrives, the energy will be channeled directly into the control node." Walker nodded. "Good. Now get to the shuttle. Take Gray with you, if you can free him. The survivors will need leaders who remember what happened here." Dr. Morgan looked at him in shock. "You're not coming." "Someone needs to make sure the connection stays open until the last moment," Walker said, touching the worn silver ring on his left hand. "I'll be right behind you." It was a lie, and they both knew it. But Dr. Morgan simply nodded and hurried to free Commander Gray from his chamber. Walker stood alone before the confluence, the ancient intelligence that had enslaved countless beings for millennia. Its crimson glow seemed to pulse faster now, as if sensing the threat. "You've taken enough," Walker said to the entity. "No more stars. No more lives." His comm crackled one last time. "Captain, we're in position," Hayes reported, his voice steady despite the sounds of destruction in the background. "Phase shift drive at maximum capacity. It's beautiful, sir. The ship is becoming pure energy." Walker closed his eyes. "Do it." The Intrepid, once humanity's greatest warship, dissolved into a brilliant blue wave of energy. The phase shift drive, pushed beyond its limits, converted the entire ship and crew into a concentrated pulse that streaked toward the transmission nodes. When the energy hit, the chamber filled with blinding light. The confluence's crimson glow was overwhelmed by the blue wave as the phase shift pulse rippled outward at faster than light speeds. Throughout Crimson Star territory, implanted beings suddenly found themselves free. The neural connections severed permanently as the confluence's control node overloaded and collapsed. In the confusion that followed, Dr. Morgan and Commander Gray led the freed aliens in a revolution against the remaining drones. With the confluence destroyed, the various species reclaimed their ships and worlds. The massive Crimson Star fleet approaching Earth suddenly stopped their attack. The implanted commanders, now free from control, were confused and disoriented. Many turned their ships around, heading back to their homeworlds. Days later, Earth received a transmission from deep space, the last automated message from the Intrepid before its destruction. It contained complete schematics for the phase shift technology and a simple message from Captain Walker. Remember us not as the last of humanity, but as the first of something greater. The message was followed by data about the confluence and the truth about the Crimson Star Alliance. With this knowledge, humans reached out to the formerly enslaved species, offering alliance instead of war. In the years that followed, the red stars that once symbolized conquest became symbols of freedom. And among the stars, the legend grew of the human warship that defied not just one crimson star, but everyone in the galaxy, not through destruction, but through understanding and sacrifice. The war was over. A new era had begun.